Yeah.
Well, you see, I think most of you are like that now because you've all got windows behind you, behind the cameras, and that's the way you should do it, not the other way around. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Small Business Support Group. We are live on Facebook and YouTube today.
Oh, we're going to YouTube as well.
Yeah, we're going to YouTube as well.
Flash.
So, yeah, I could have gone to Blam YouTube channel as well if I wanted to, but I've only got 2 connections, so I've gone mine. But what we can go to yours when you want to, Grant.
Brilliant.
If you ever want to do something separate, yeah. So yesterday was I've got a comment because somebody texted me in the afternoon yesterday and to say how horrible you were to me when I froze. Now I could get very upset at that because when I went off yesterday, I've then reviewed the footage and I'm disgraced at the banter and the laughter that went on because I was frozen, and especially you, Ben, saying, "Oh, where's your try speed testing now?" Yeah, that's very funny.
That's what jealousy does, Matt. You know, when you're banging on about your 350 meg, and we're all like, "We've only got 30
I wouldn't mind. I'd only frozen for a second, and straight away it was stuck.
We're like, "Yay!"
You brought it on yourself.
Let's face it, Matt, you're the only one that's not really had technical problems throughout this. So we were just relieved that you're now in our club.
and as you're speaking, Mark is flashing in and out of the green room.
He does that. He's a right flasher.
I know. And is hang on a minute. So literally, somebody's thrown something at my window. Talk amongst yourselves.
Really? You know what? That'll be delivery. Or the riot has started outside. We want to get back to work.
Mate, listen, this is what we need to stir today. Public central rest.
It's because I've got the windows open and Tina just said, "You're too loud, the neighbours can hear you."
Well, that's all right. Hey, they get real followers outside the house.
Yeah, that's it. We're getting Mark's in. Look at that.
You know what? I've had to sit right by the hub. It's like ridiculous.
I'm surprised you're not sat on the floor underneath the TV.
There is all that, I tell you. And I've just had all the kids screaming like mad because I say switch off the electronics, no Wi-Fi, no connection. So now they think it's a big party. Like, I'm running around. I'm like, I'm going on a call. Yeah,
but it's the best connection you've ever had, mate.
Yeah. It is good. It shows your pink shirts up really well.
Yeah, thanks.
So I'm just going to send out some links here.
Please remind me how to share this because I keep forgetting.
Oh yeah, you asked me yesterday, didn't you? So let's. Well, here we go. So on you got your Facebook page, haven't you, Mark? Can you see that? Yeah. Well, at the bottom it says "Watch together with friends." Oh, you probably haven't got many of them, but watch together with friends or with a group. It says at the bottom.
Okay,
see that?
Is that when we go? Yeah.
And you click start, and then
he moans about us being horrible to him.
I know. And then, well, you know, I'm just getting my own back now because even Mark was having a dig before he froze. And then start a watch party, and that's how you do it.
So sorry, Matt. As just to make sure I've got that right, because I've never got round to sharing this before. So what do? We take the link, do we, from the business support group?
Yeah, let me go back and I'll do it again. Hang on.
Sorry,
so I didn't.
Everybody that's watching, do this in sync with Mr. Matt.
So here we go, gentlemen. So that's us on the Small Business Support Group page. You can see the reflection of my trees at the back, and there's our beautiful faces right at the bottom. It says "Watch together with friends or with a group," and you click the start button next door to there. And when you click that, it brings up that type of thing. Now, I just share it to my personal profile, but you can start a watch party in all the groups that you look after as well.
Yeah.
And you just click that, and then it just starts a watch party. And it just notifies everybody on your page.
Good.
And you can then share it as well on that page. And that's how you do that.
Fabulous.
Yeah, thanks.
And the numbers will shoot up.
Well, I've got more groups, yeah.
Now, well, you only can do one at a time, unfortunately, Mark. That's the only thing. Share it to your friends.
I'll do it.
So, yesterday
I'm going to freeze for a minute, guys. Just
okay, mate. You carry on. Yesterday we had some great numbers and viewers. We had actually nearly on 400 full views of the show, which was extraordinary because we nearly did an hour. That's because I disappeared for 10 minutes. So is this because we went for an hour? Was this because we were talking about conspiracy theories? Or I don't know. I've been looking at the WhatsApp group this morning, which has been very lively with our small business support group, WhatsApp group. So I won't talk about what's going on there, but if anybody wants to talk about what was mentioned in that group, do you want to kick off things there, or do you want to just go with a bit of business first?
Pardon me for saying anything, but can we go with business first?
Okay, if you want. I
think the contention, we are touching on some opinions that are quite strong, and that's valid, and everyone will have a different perspective. But obviously, I'm right and they're not, so it's just
okay. Well, that's fair enough. One bit of business news I want to start off with. Obviously, I mentioned on Monday that Virgin Airlines was in trouble, and Virgin Australia Airlines are gone into administration. But
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they went overnight. So Virgin Atlantic, which is the main company, Mr. Branson has now put up his. Is it Necker Island? Is it?
Yeah. No way. Yeah. Is he getting rid of that?
Well, he's put it up as collateral to support for a loan for the Virgin Group. Should have done it a little bit earlier, I would have thought. I don't know, because he doesn't actually own the full company, does he? He only owns a percentage of it.
Yeah, I think that's a big commitment from him, isn't it? I mean, that's where he lives most of the time.
That's correct. But it's only in a few hundred million the island's worth, because it's not that big. But he has got billions in the bank. So
he did get it for a song. But I mean, it's the same as anything, isn't it? If you're in business, do you make yourself completely vulnerable in a scenario like this when you potentially have got to support, all the other businesses that he runs?
Well, that's right. I mean, he's got to be careful that he doesn't have to step out now and start supporting all the other ones, isn't it? That's what could happen.
Well, but let's pull this apart. Actually, Virgin Airlines, like every other business, is just actually what it's saying is we've got no income because people aren't flying. Like the pub up the road saying we've got no income because people aren't allowed to come in. Therefore, in that moment, we have to furlough staff and reduce overhead right down. Now, I'm sure that like a pub or like a resident, we've got mortgage or rent, and he's got loan payments on finance for new planes, etc. And actually, it's so intertwined that someone up the chain has got to say, well, okay, we'll suspend payments. And this situation is so unique that absolutely everybody, in my opinion, as we mentioned once before, it almost totally is going to devalue money because it's a joke. The fact is, if Branson can't pay and he gets a loan payment history blank or something, then the loan company is going to say, well, we've got commitments over here that we can't manage. And the whole money circle actually suddenly becomes just a joke because no one's got any real money. They're all laying it off.
Yeah, I mean, it's because he doesn't own the whole company. I mean, I think it's quite a risk. I don't know if he's doing it just for, everything he does is
PR.
Yeah, it's great PR, isn't it? But it is a hell of a thing to do when you only own. I think he owns 51%, so it's a majority share. Delta Airways owns the rest of it. So it's interesting. I bet he's redone a deal somewhere, hasn't he? He must have. He hasn't just done this and just said, "Yeah, I have my island," and take X amounts out to support it all up. But it does show you how fragile even the big airlines of how close to the wind they sail. That's not right. But sorry, I wasn't a pun.
Wouldn't that be Virgin Cruise Liners?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but it does show you how close to the edge they are. And is that how all the big companies are operating now?
Let's look at the finance and the banking industry globally. Ultimately, everybody, including now Richard Branson, is worrying about payments that they are liable for. And yet, I can't see anywhere where there's a story in the news where the banks are worrying about their payment process. Do you know what? At the end of the day, the banks all the way through the local governments. In our small business world, the banks are still the ones that are saying yes or no to the loan that the government says we can have. The banks are still the ones saying yes or no to any sort of suspending of payments on all the mortgages and corporate leases. At the end of the day, every business I see being questioned, and nowhere the banks and the finance industry. Why aren't we asking them to do their bit?
Well, aren't we doing that? Aren't the government already doing that?
No.
I thought that's what all the loan systems were all about, and the government-backed loans. No.
If you go and examine it, you'll find that ultimate lending criteria is the decision of the bank, and banks are saying no, left, right, and centre, because there isn't sufficient security behind the loan. Because although the government spin the PR of "we'll give you the loans," they're not giving the loans. The banks are, and but I'm not just talking about in our small business world. I'm talking across the whole spectrum, aka Virgin. The banks and the finance company have got everyone in there by the short and curlies, and yet no one in the banking industry is saying, okay, guys, we're in this together. We'll just let you off for 2 months.
Yeah, I suppose they've still got to operate as businesses, haven't they? The banks are still businesses at the end of the day. They're not, you know. I know the Bank of England is the main bank there, but all the other banks are businesses, and they've got to run it like a business. And they do make a lot of money. And I've had my runnings with the banks, so I'm not a supporter. But what are you saying, Mark? Sorry,
I'm not buying into it.
You're not buying into what?
Last recession, the banks collapsed. The banks took the economy with them, and we bailed them out.
Yes.
And now they're sitting there all pious, saying whether they're going to give you, the ordinary business person, the money that the government have said, we are backing. Now, you say that it's the banks doing it and they want to see all the loans. Well, the government backed the last set of banks that went bust, Lloyd's, TSB, you know, all of these people. And yet we're sitting there now and saying, well, yeah, you've got to come up with your business plan. You've got to see if your business is viable. No business is going to be viable at the end of this.
Correct. So the banks are not playing by everyone else's rules. It's just unfair.
Grant, what do you think about this?
I've got a pretty sort of low opinion of banks in general. You know, they're. I mean, the whole economy is being slowed down across the entire world, and the majority of the world economy starts with oil, doesn't it? Oil is the big thing that makes the money go around. And have you seen the price of oil? Has it gone down to sort of a penny or something like that, a barrel, something ridiculous? Yeah. So the thing that I always think about in scenarios like this, as we did in the last recession, is that if you're looking at this as a global picture, there's no less money in the world right now. It's just the trade of that money, the exchange of that money has slowed right down. Now, the banks are businesses the same as everybody else. They've got staff, they've got overheads, they've got, you know, and they make their money on the interest that they make. And the trades that they do, the exchanges, whether it be the foreign exchange or the stock market, they make their money the same way as everybody else by using, and they use our money to do it. And then they obviously make money on the interest that they give out. So when that trade slows down, the banks suffer the same as everybody else. So to one extent, I've got a little bit of sympathy for them from a business perspective. But because they are so mercenary and because they seem to act like they are gods, you know, in terms of the government has actually said they're going to back these loans, and the people that I've spoken to, that certainly in the UK, I'm not sure how it's fixed in the rest of the world, but in the UK, I haven't actually spoken to anybody yet who's been approved for one of these government-backed loans.
Yeah.
The way that they're working, from my understanding, and I've only dipped my toe in the water, is that they're kind of like a last chance saloon loan. So in other words, you have to have proven that you've been refused in other places in order to get the government-backed loan.
Yeah.
Now, you're only going to be refused if you're desperate. And so if you're desperate and then you apply for a loan, you're not going to get one because your books aren't going to stack up.
Yeah.
So it strikes me as a catch-22. And again, I hate giving my opinion on something that I don't know all the details on. But from the outset, it looks like a bit of a a bit of a sort of hype, and we're not. You know, I can't see many businesses getting these loans from what I've heard.
Do you think? I mean, there's going to be businesses falling over now. If they're not going to get the support, and we understand why the businesses, why they're going to fall over. But do you think this is just all smoke and mirrors by the government, or is it a smoke and mirrors by the banks? Do you think the government are trying to help?
I think the honest truth is they want to, and they're doing what they think they can. And certainly respect to them in terms of leadership. They've done everything they can to sustain and maintain morale and a little bit of hope. However, they don't call the shots. They are still at the behest of the financial institutions. So whilst they can offer, they can't guarantee. And the challenge we've got, as Mark quite rightly pointed out, every single one of us, the layman in this country, even the wealthier brackets of the layman, we stand there saying, we bailed you out. And now when we want it back, you're being high and mighty. Well, I'm sorry, but screw you. Somewhere along the line, they have to answer to the general public that pays in, as you say, Grant. We let them trade our money. They take our money and they take our interest and they trade with it. And that's fine. When it all flows, we're all happy. But when they say no, well, we have to say, all right, well, you're not having my money then. And eventually they've got to realize, and every business has to realize, the customer is in power. And if the customer really gets pissed off and says, right, I'm not buying it anymore, there are hundreds of examples in history where businesses have gone down the toilet overnight, in a manner of speaking, because the consumer base says, right, I'm taking my money elsewhere now. And, ultimately we have to do that with the banks.
I'm stuck with the banks. I don't know. I've got no point of view on it, unfortunately.
I'm not being funny, man. The reason you're stuck and the reason people like you and I are stuck is because your businesses aren't, in their view, aren't worthy enough to give you any money. Now, what I mean by that is I set up the Business Growth Network nearly 15 months ago. Haven't submitted my books yet. Obviously looking at that. We're in this situation, businesses like mine, where there is no backing if you are not employing people, if you're not renting places, and you can't furlough yourself. So the simple fact is you're then looking at other ways of getting money. Now, thankfully, I'm not asking for the banks for any money, but there are people out there who are desperate need right now to keep their business afloat. They started less than 12 months ago, and there is no backing for them. And you could arguably say, well, yeah, tough luck. That's the way it is. But, when you start looking into all this, these are the people that are either going to, swim or sink. But, when they do swim and they do end up being the next Richard Branson, they'll be saying two fingers to the bank.
Yeah. And if they sink, and if any of us sink in volume, well, the stance of the bank is going to be proving to be worthless anyway. Because if there ain't no money, you can't claim your debt. So it needs better management.
No, okay. I mean, I think the bank is it's going to be an ongoing thing all the way through this, and the support is going to be there, vital to any businesses that are going to fall over, and hopefully people can find a way. But it seems that the usual thing with the bank that if you've got lots of money, they'll lend you lots of money. If you haven't, they won't. And we've always said that. They
say, "Oh, we're here to help, but only as help."
Yeah, only when it suits us. That's the way it is, isn't it? So let's hope
getting hold of the bank at the moment is one thing as well, isn't it? And actually speaking to somebody. So it's if you want to spend all day on the phone, waiting to get through to somebody to then finally have a conversation to be told no, there's another day you've lost.
While we're talking about banks and money, guys, can I float a question? What's our opinion? So my thought is, there is not really any evidence to show that by giving you a £10 note to pay for my coffees and my cakes, I'm going to give you a virus. But they've used very conveniently this crisis to squash cash.
Yes.
Now that's absolutely.
Look at Matt's face.
What we are 20 minutes in, I suppose. Oh, that's not bad. Go on.
So let me ask you this. Where is there now any saviour for the common man to be in control of his destiny if they've forced everything to be in their domain of digital? There is no comeback when they say, as has happened with friends of mine, they say, oh, we're closing the account because we're suspicious of the activity. You haven't got to prove it. The banks have their own powers. So I've got friends that trade in cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrencies are legal. However, if you make money from trading in cryptocurrency, the banks don't like that because they don't like crypto. So they will freeze your account and squeeze you out, and they won't accept the cash. I've got a friend of mine's got ATMs all over the place selling cryptocurrency. So you and I can go along and build a portfolio of cryptocurrency, pay in our cash, own cryptocurrency, completely legal. However, when you want to put that cash into the bank because you're a business trading in crypto, you can't do it. So the banks have become way too powerful, and this squeeze on cash into only digital just traps us more. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think this is a fascinating conversation because cryptocurrency is obviously built on the blockchain, and blockchain is something that can't be policed by the establishment. So that brings sort of two sort of discussions. On the one hand, it means that the banks and the government can't control the exchange of that money, meaning that the big brother scenario that a lot of people don't like is effectively outwitted by the blockchain. But on the other hand, it means that if there is any money laundering, illegal kind of activity that goes on, it's a way of hiding the transactions. So there's an argument for both sides, I think, from somebody with a balanced view that I would consider myself to have, because we don't want to encourage drug dealers to use blockchain to launder their money. But on the other hand, you've got some banks setting up their own cryptocurrency to try and get hold of that market, and then banning the use of people, as Ben was saying, downloading or exchanging their cryptocurrency into their own bank account, meaning that they effectively have become a monopoly in it, which means that the balance towards it all being a bit big brother is leaning towards the bank side of it, in my view. And there must be a solution, a happy medium, because surely it's a good idea to have something that is so robust as blockchain, managing the transactions of money around the globe, because it stops any one organization starting to have a monopoly on it.
I mean, I'm not fully understood of the blockchain. Cryptocurrencies, I understand, and the mining side of things, I understand that, because I was involved doing some promotion for somebody. But it is a strange world, that is, and you can understand why people and banks and other bigger institutions are worried about it, because it's an unknown that they can't control, and that's as far as that's how I feel it is. Like anything which is new, the main governments, the bigger companies want to control it because they want to slice the action. But I think they can't control this, so it just makes it quite unnerving to them. I don't know. That's how I read upon it. Anybody else?
Yeah. Well, interestingly, I've been doing some work recently with. I wouldn't say the clients yet, but we've been involved in some activity on a software type security basis, relating to debts and very large debts, government debts. And actually, the more you understand and meet with the right people and learn, in the current system, right, every bank is losing billions of dollars. They just hide it. Okay. And they have huge security issues, but they don't tell anyone because it would sell fear of, oh, actually, you're not that secure after all, Mr. Bank. So when you scratch away at the surface of the finance industry, they argue on one side, that there is risk with dirty money from drugs, and therefore they can't allow crypto. On the other side, when you unravel some of their dirty dealings and their gaps, the banking system is far from clean anyway. So, it's just a mind blow. But the fact is, blockchain does, and cryptocurrency does go around them. And you're right, Matt. What they can't control, they don't like.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's not really this. I mean, I know I put the news behind the news thing, symbol, but it's not really a conspiracy theory because it's an actual thing that's out there, and it's factual. So it's not.
So an interesting one is that I did some dealings with a developer about 18 months ago now, who wanted to be paid in what's the main Bitcoin? Yeah, wanted to be paying it. So we did exchange some of our cash from the business into Bitcoin, and we paid in Bitcoin, and it was just before the big crash that happened. So it would have been it was last January, wasn't it, the crash? So I think it was around about December that we paid, but all of their transactions were that they preferred to be paid in Bitcoin, but they would have lost out heavily on that. I don't think it's started to recover, but it's nowhere near what it was around about that time. Would have been December 2018 ish, when I think is when it peaked.
It has fluctuated from as high as 16,000 per coin down to as low as recently about 2,000-3,000. It keeps going up to about 10, 11, down a bit, up to about 10. 11. So it's an interesting market. It's a brilliant market for trading in because of its volatility. However, you're absolutely right in the fact that if you can trade dirty cash into clean crypto, there will come a day when that will be a much more sought after currency. It's just one that isn't going to go away, even though they suppress it.
I mean, can you imagine anything with it? I mean, other than trading. I mean,
yeah. Actually, now more and more forward-thinking customers or businesses are accepting a cryptocurrency trade.
So you could do it for your business, Matt, if you wanted to be paid in crypto, in blockchain. I mean, sorry, through the blockchain. There's a few currencies that cryptocurrencies that are sort of like the main ones. I've done a little bit of playing with it. I've got a bit of money tied up in crypto, just purely as out of curiosity more than anything. I've lost money on it because I kind of started playing with it when it was sort of getting towards its peak. I made a lot of money to start with, and then it just crashed. But I've never actually taken the money out. So I used Coinbase, which is an app.
They're the biggest wallet holder.
Yeah, and that syncs with my bank account. And I had to jump through quite a few hoops to get that working. Now, I've never tried to actually take the money out, but I just wonder whether that's going to be a straightforward process or not.
Yeah, it is. Again, anybody that's listening, anybody wants to know, I've got several senior friends that trade crypto, mine crypto, and have got ATMs where you can transact into cash into crypto.
ATMs?
Yeah. There are thousands. You could go along to an ATM with your 20 quid or your £200 off your wage packet and put it in and buy yourself, a tenth of a Bitcoin type of thing. So there is lots of ways now. Just like with gold, you could go and buy an ounce of gold at a time and build up your portfolio. But the issue we're getting to globally is the value of that promise to pay the bearer. That promise to pay the bearer was underwritten through banking history because of a gold reserve. It said for every promise there's a backdrop. But the banks have got so greedy in the last 40 years with their leverage and their selling on of that debt. Their money now is fake. There isn't anything to underpin. And that's why crypto is now saying that for everything you buy, there is actually a real coin. That's the difference. It's more solid, a bit like traditional gold.
Okay. Well, we've only got a few minutes left. If we're sticking to our half an hour, we have to stick to the half an hour because Mark's got his Business Growth Network meeting at 1 o'clock. Mark, hello.
I'm frozen all the time. It's doing me in.
Well, it's going to be good at 1 o'clock, isn't it? Do you want to? We can hear your audio. Your picture's just a bit.
Okay, fine. Well, I just want to shout out a couple of people on the group here, because Kirsty Woodman said, "Yeah, cash is king." She also asked what businesses we all run, so I'll put that out there. Steve Acknord, who's one of our members from the Job Guru, said, "Grant, you're spot on with your comments there." So it just says that these conversations, although a little bit conspiracy sometimes, are getting the attention that we all are craving for. At 1 o'clock, we're doing the Facebook Live for education. What's the importance of expanding your mind right now, and really reading books, educating, doing those blogs that you all talk about, even writing a book at the moment. And we got Dr. Cheryl Whiting coming to join us, as well as psychologist, business psychologist, Julie Osborne.
Oh, that's going to be good then. So that's 1 o'clock on your Business Growth Network.
Yeah. We're going to try and share it as well, Matt. But I might just get you actually visibly on there, mate, because if I just
not education, that's not my bag.
Can you, Mark, please, Mark, can you send me a link?
Yes, of course, mate. Yeah.
Is Ben? You want to go on?
Ben should come and join us. I did actually say to you, didn't I? I said, Ben, because obviously you do training, development, coaching.
I'd love to be involved. Give me an email link, then I can do it on my computer.
Yeah, okay. Matt's got the details.
Yeah, I've got all the because I'm running the. I'm not going to be on it, but I'm directing the.
You might be if I can't speak.
Yeah, I don't know. That's your show. That is, mate. That's.
I'm sitting right on the hub again. No, ridiculous.
Can I just say you've got your? If I just look at just a technical hint, if you could lean forward a little bit, you've actually got your superimpose switched on your camera. Okay. So your background, whatever you were looking at before, it's bleeding into the picture. But anyway, that's just a technical thing. So just reset that for later, please. Hey, gentlemen, I'm just, I've got to give me instructions. You'll just fall apart if I don't.
Really well.
1 minute. Any conspiracy theories you want to talk about for 1 minute?
Where do we start?
Where do you start? Just choose one. Choose one. We'll do one each day. Just talk 1 minute. Ben, you go first.
Okay. Well, having already mentioned the
vaccines
on cash, which has to be looked at and questioned, every death now is suddenly COVID, and none of the other things have been killing people forever. The numbers are fake. What we have to look at, I guess, then is where this is really going. My suspicion is that they're going to scare someone so much that actually, with a broke economy and a fear, they can just control us more. It should be vaccines that are mandatory, and such a level of debt that we're really an uprising. So my conspiracy theory of the day is the vaccines that are going to be forced on us when they've finally got us so scared we'll accept anything.
Okay, they got little nanobots in the vaccines, have they? Is that how it is?
Yeah. What's the agenda with the vaccines then, Ben?
Well, ultimately, obviously, a vaccine is a good idea, and many of them are absolutely solid. And that isn't within any doubt. However, there is a lot of research that has shown suspicion and room for argument that actually we don't know what's in that vaccine. So take the typical flu jab. Has anyone produced a study that says, fact, flu jabs stop you getting flu? No, it can't. It arguably reduces it, but that they get around that every year by saying, the flu's changed, so the vaccine isn't. So it's just spurious. It's actually either about money or it's about something else they're putting in.
It's actually, I'm going to agree with this one. I don't agree with it, but how do they always know? That you get the flu vaccine at the start of the year for the older people. Obviously, Ben gets that, but it's how do they know what's coming? Do they look like? How do they know which flu? Because there's obviously thousands of them, as we know now. How do they know which flu it is?
We need a proper doctor on this one. We need somebody who can give us
however, with respect, doctors these days, where do they get their education from?
Here we go.
The drug companies that give them the stuff.
Yeah, I'm not one for conspiracies, but can I just put, like Kirsty Woodman again is commented here. I agree. funny how there's been no terrorist attacks lately. Government ain't sticking anything in me. And that says it all, doesn't it? I mean, this is the prime opportunity. I'm not advocating that, but the prime opportunity for things to go wrong, and yet nothing.
Yeah.
There's no terrorist attacks because they can't make it any worse than it is.
No, it's because it's all part of a colluded plan, Matt.
Oh my Lord, I love it.
I think as long as there's there's plenty of people asking questions and doing things like this, then we can have sensible debates where we're using facts that can be verified by people that are sensible and not the kind of facts that are. I tell you, I heard this off a bloke in the pub.
Well, that's a lie.
Again,
you shouldn't be going to the pub.
Mark?
Yeah, Steve has put from Steve Agnoy from the Job Guru has put they track it. Just answering you, Ben. I think Matt actually. They track it in countries that get the flu seasons before us, so they're monitoring around the world.
Oh, okay. Well,
That's probably the World Health Organization again, isn't it?
but yet again, how do they know that one's coming across to us? That's the thing.
So I've got just one thing. I just want to try to finish off with, guys, just to throw this one out, because we had a little bit of a healthy debate on our WhatsApp group this morning, as it went backwards and forwards. And the thing that's really been frustrating me is I saw again this morning that there was the hospitals were saying that there was a cancer ward, and the guy was saying is they've had 75% less people going through to the cancer ward. And this is really as a result of people not going to the doctors and then not going, through to be diagnosed. So how many more people are now dying as a result of not being treated because they're not going through the normal process? Now, it just makes absolute sense that that's what's going to happen. And yet the stats that we're looking at are telling us that the language says people that have died who have been diagnosed with COVID-19, not that it was the cause of death. And this just got me thinking. So I went onto the Office of National Statistics this morning, especially because, we had a few things going backwards and forwards in the group that started spouting numbers. And I thought, well, I haven't got a clue about that sort of stuff. Surely the Office of National Statistics will give me some real facts that I can trust. And the interesting thing was they were quoting the number of deaths on the 10th of April, which I think, according to what the news told me yesterday, BBC News, was 2 days after the peak of the pandemic. Am I right in saying that, guys? Anybody seen that? They're saying the peak was on the 8th in the UK.
No, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, so that's what I heard on the news, and this is why I'm reluctant to give a strong opinion on stuff unless I can kind of give facts that are at least verified by somebody that's got some sort of independent authority. So the Office of National Statistics, I don't know whether that's a strong authority, but it sounds pretty good to me. And on their homepage,
sounds like the WHO.
Yeah. Well, here's what it said on the Office of National Statistics, and I posted it in the group. And this fascinated me. So if we just go back to the post, I did a screenshot of the homepage, and it says that there were where are we? The number of deaths that occurred in week 15, which is a week ending 10th of April, was 18,516. This is the highest weekly total in 1 week since the year 2000. So in other words, in the year 2000, there was a week where there were more deaths than there were in the week at the height of the pandemic of COVID-19.
Yeah.
Now, that does not stack up. And that's the Office of National Statistics telling us that in the year 2000, we had a week that was worse than the peak of the pandemic that has locked down the world.
Yeah, we weren't locked down in 2000.
I don't even remember a bloody pandemic in 2000. It certainly was. So that just for me scares the shit out of me, because what the hell's going on?
Interesting.
Well, I think
the same ONS, Office of National Statistics, same source of data says 91% of the deaths that are being attributed to the coronavirus had an underlying previous health condition.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
And what's happening is they're going into hospital, they're being treated for whatever it might be, they're getting the test, they're being told, yes, you've got COVID-19, and then when they die, they're saying that was somebody who died who had COVID-19. That's not necessarily the cause of death. Now, that's just me having a cursory look at stuff and sort of asking the question. I'm sure that if somebody who's got a real understanding of what's going on in the hospitals, have got an understanding that, you know, what's going on in the NHS, they could shoot me down and say, Grant, you've got it wrong. This is the facts. I'd love to hear that, because
does anybody know anybody?
Somebody must know somebody, because this just seems bonkers to me.
Nobody's
allowed in a hospital for a start. You can't go in and visit people that have gone in that have, you know, so nobody really knows what's going on. There's no filming in hospitals. Nobody's seen what's going on. As far as I'm aware, there's massive hospitals that have been built that are empty.
Oh, they are.
And so I just want somebody to reassure me, because at the moment I'm sat here trying to help loads of businesses, trying to get my own business to a point, you know, where we can see an end date. And I'm looking at the cause of all of this anxiety and hard work and pressure and heartache that's being caused in the business community and elsewhere. And I'm going, what's the reason for this? Yeah. Because at the moment I'm looking at stats from authorities and I'm going, this doesn't make sense. And we're going through all of this shit right now, and it does not make sense.
Yeah.
No, you're right there. I mean, we are running out of time because I've got to get to Mark Singh in 4 minutes, but I don't want to cut short because it's really interesting. And I think we should carry on this tomorrow. And if anybody's watching as well, if you want to join in the conversation tomorrow, if you're a doctor or work in the NHS, that would be really good. Somebody with a bit of clarification on it. But the one thing I want to say, and I'll go full screen on this, because I'm watching the WhatsApp group this morning and seeing all the people were spouting on them and saying, you know, the different codes, the different things they've been finding out on the internet. Realistically, there is a virus. We know there's a virus. I think, and our governments have clearly said that the NHS can't cope. That we've been able to squash it down and they'll be able to cope now. And I think the whole reason of that is because the NHS was underfunded, and it's been underfunded for decades, and they don't want dead bodies in the street. You know, there is people dropping down and in the hospitals and they're dying, and we fully understand that. But they don't want dead bodies in the street, which they have happened in Italy. But I think the only reason they've scared us into thinking that it is bad, and it is very bad, but they've just made it a little bit worse to make sure we stay in line and to make sure that we don't overfill the NHS hospitals, because it'll all point back to them once all this is gone, and somebody will stand up and go, well, you know, if the NHS was funded correctly, we wouldn't have had this problem. And I think this is the same across all the countries across the world. So that's my little bit. If anybody knows a doctor or somebody who works in the NHS who's got a free hour tomorrow, that would be great. Please get in touch with us. My email's on there, or contact us. And then, because all the emails have been popping up, please contact us and we'll send you a link to join us so we can put us straight on all that. We're off to the Business Growth Network talk, which is happening at 1 o'clock on their pages, which is the Business Growth Show, the Business Growth Network on the group and on the page. Grant, Ben, Mark, thank you very much. It's been interesting. Just to let you know, when you did the conspiracy theories, the viewing figures went straight up again, right straight up. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's off.
I don't even get involved in them.
The truth is out there, guys.
Oh, there you go, X-Files. All right then, brilliant. Thank you very much. We'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.